30s. We're going to talk about probably the worst ecological disaster that's ever happened in the United States, that being the Dust Bowl. Central Texas, over to Oklahoma, up as far as Colorado. All that prairie land was turned into cultivation and wasn't taken care of. And when the wind started blowing, the dirt from those farms wound up in Washington, D.C. and the Atlantic Ocean. Something had to be done. Well, the people in the prairie land could have used 150-foot tall longleaf pine trees to help break that wind. Wind wasn't the problem that we had in Georgia early on. It was water erosion. The 45 to 55 inches of annual rainfall that we have here in this state pretty well ensured that when the first plow went into the ground, soil erosion began to happen. Now, we had a very ingenious way to solve the problem early on. We used the land as long as it was productive, and then we moved off and left it. I've got an excerpt here from a book that I read recently, and I apologize because I did not bring my glasses, but I'm going to try my best to read this little bit. Do what? Hey! This is an excerpt from a book that I read about Georgia. A factual description of a farmer's attempt to eke out a living in Madison County, Georgia, prior to 1933. The farmer moved his first 100 acres on Christmas Eve in 1916. There were 9 children in his family, ranging from 2 to 13 years of age. In 1917, he worked 25 acres and made 8 bales of cotton on his 25 acres and 10 loads of corn. Now, I don't know how big those loads of corn were, but they'll all be relative. By clearing some extra land in 1919, he was then working 30 acres. He managed to produce 11 bales of cotton and 9 loads of corn. By 1925, yields had dropped to 5 bales of cotton and 7 loads of corn, and he was in debt to $300, a nearly astronomical sum for those days and times. There were 12 children in the family then, and the land had washed so badly that he had either to move or practically starve his family to death. But his sad experience followed him. A common sight in those times was a wagon loaded with household goods, followed by a lean milk cow tethered to the tailgate, and a mangy hound dog trotting along behind. By 1926, on the new place, he'd made 13 bales of cotton and 6 loads of corn. I guess life was good again. But 5 years later, he was able to make only 9 bales of cotton and 6 loads of corn, and he went in debt another $200. Sounds like farming today, doesn't it? He moved again to try another farm. In those times, that sad experience was the rule rather than the exception. It was possible to drive through large sections of the state and see the disturbing sight of acre after acre of wrecked land. Quick action and immediate solutions were demanded and had to take place. A solution needed to come. A guy by the name of Hugh Hammond Bennett lobbied Congress during the time of the Dust Bowl, and he received the funding that he was after, and he formed the Soil Conservation Service. And we now know that service as Natural Resource and Conservation Service, NRCS. Us as landowners use these people all the time, and a lot of them are here today. Well, I forgot where I was at. Sorry about that. Shortly thereafter, conservation districts were formed. And the reason for these districts being formed, it was like-kind acres. And what I mean by that, in the state of Georgia, we have 40 conservation districts. They range from 1 acre to 1 county to 9 counties. And the reason for this is they have like-kind acres. What happens in Hall County may be totally different from what's here in South Georgia. Our Middle South Georgia Soil and Water Conservation District, it was formed in 1939, consisted of 9 counties of Thomas, Brooks, Colquitt, Tift, Worth, Turner, Ben Hill, Irwin, and Crisp counties. If I missed one, y'all let me know. The effort of these districts were in place to help landowners practice good conservation efforts and to educate them on new ways of doing things. And that's who you're receiving your award from tonight. Like I said, that district started in 1939. I don't know when the Conservationist of the Year award started, but it's been going on for several years, for many years, most of my life. The reason that I know that is I have seen these little green signs, like you see right in front of you, all my life. In a moment, y'all are going to receive your little green sign. I'm going to tell you a legend about these little green signs. And if it's not true, don't tell me because it'll hurt my feelings. A very good friend of mine received one several years ago, and he was so excited. First of all, because he was so happy that somebody recognized that he was taking care of his land. But the other thing, he said, "Brian, do you realize all of my life driving over Tifton, Berrien County, all the people that have these little green signs, I've never seen one of them go broke. I've never seen a farm go out of business that had one of these conservation signs." Well, I've thought about it, and I can't think of anybody that ever went broke that had one of those signs. But if you know of someone, don't tell me, because it's going to mess me up. You're going to receive your little green sign, and please hang it in pride. The reason you're receiving this sign is not because your name was drawn out of a hat. You're receiving it because someone within your county has recognized your efforts to do a very good job taking care of the land and taking care of the very natural resources that God has blessed us with. What we want you to do with that, we want you to continue to do the efforts that you've been doing. We want you to come up with new and innovative ways of conserving the natural resources that we have. And when you learn new ways and perfect it, tell your neighbors, tell the districts. We'll, as a district, we'll promote and educate others in the way to help that. Now, why is that so important? I'll tell you why. It's predicted by 2050 that there'll be 9 billion people on Earth. That's 30 years from now. And they're predicting that 1.5 billion more people will be on the Earth than what there is today. Now, I broke this down in simple South Georgia math. It's hard to figure with big figures like that, but I'm going to put it in terms that I could wrap my head around. That's every second of every hour of every day. That's 1.5 more humans on this earth. So every 2 seconds, that's 3 more people that we need to feed, that we need to clothe, we need to provide energy for. That's the reason that it's so important that you keep up the valiant efforts that you have. Conservation, when we talk about conservation, we're not talking about taking a natural resource and putting it up on a shelf, looking at it like a museum. We're talking about using it wisely, using it to help humankind. And when I challenge you to come up with more and more efforts to stretch those natural resources, think about this. Whenever Hugh Hammond Bennett created the Soil Conservation Service, he never imagined a conservation district taking on the challenge of fighting feral hogs. We have 4 or 5 districts within this state that are leading the way in taking care of the feral hog program. He never imagined a satellite talking to a fertilizer spreader going across the field, putting the right amount of phosphorus, the right amount of potash, at a particular spot in the field where it's needed to make optimal yield, not wasting any fertilizer. He never dreamed of a soil moisture monitor that would tell a farmer exactly how much water that he needed and applying water with a pivot that was variable rate irrigation that put more water in the dry spots of the field, less water in the winter spots in the field, putting that natural resource exactly where it needs to be. He never imagined any of that. So I challenge you to continue to do what you've been doing. Be proud that you are a Conservationist of the Year. And just keep in mind, if you take care of the land, it'll take care of you. Congratulations to each and every one of y'all. Thank you.